let's end this on a little fun one here. We're going to do a little bit of a game. I'm going to try and do this here now. I think I kind of want to introduce this little one and see how it takes off, see how it goes. So what this, I'm going to play a game of freeze or fuego, or as we would all like to say, will teams cool down or heat up in the second half? All right. So I'm going to give you a list of 4 Eastern Conference teams and 4 Western Conference teams. I need you. It's a very simple game here, Mr. Pendlebury. You say freeze or you say fuego. Okay. So first and foremost, let's get things on the roll. Drum roll, please.
Yep.
The Philadelphia Flyers, freeze or fuego?
Freeze. They're too good to be true right now. They got too much going on. They're cooling down.
Okay, that's all. Okay, you can give simple answers. You can go detail. We can write books.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't know if you had more going. I like it straight to the point. I'll kind of give my 2 cents here real quick as well.
Sure.
I think they've played really well under Tortorella. I do really think that they kind of are thriving on the underdog role this year. Very unfortunate, obviously, as we know. I'm not going into details by any means, but having the incident with Carter Hart kind of stinks for them. I also do think being their general manager right now is a little bit of a tough right now, obviously with Briere, that whole friggin', issue with Gauthier, and then the issue with Carter Hart, and then you had what was it last year? I think they had another. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember. There's just so much going on around that team. And just the whole concept of buy or sell at the deadline. What should we do? We're in a position now where we didn't think we were going to be, like, really interesting. So I also, too, Philadelphia Flyers, am going to freeze. I do think they're going to slow down, especially when some of those other teams bolster up at the deadline as well. Next team, freeze or Devils, New Jersey Devils, freeze or fuego?
Fuego.
Okay,
I like it. They had a slow start. Unfortunately, with Hughes having a few injuries, that's been taking them out of the lineup for quite a amount of games. Once he gets back, they're gonna find their groove. They've got a good team. They showed it last year. I think goaltending is the only big question mark right now. If they can kind of figure that all out, then I see them back in the playoff spot. I think they're just sitting outside of one. So yeah, they're heating up, baby.
Yeah, that preseason prediction of Connor Hellebuck getting traded to the Devils is looking really good for you right now, eh? I'm gonna go for what? What's that?
I saw a mock trade on my Instagram not too long ago, like a day or two ago, and it had like Hellebuck to the Devils. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
someone,
nope,
that's a soft dump in the corner podcast listener right there. Shout
no.
out to you, my guy or girl. Okay, so Devils, I'm gonna fuego myself. Couple things. First and foremost, injuries suck. 100%. They've had a lot of big name injuries. They have Jack Hughes out. They've got their top D man out, Dougie Hamilton. He should be coming back shortly. Hughes will be coming back shortly. What is going on with Timo Meyer? Holy whistling. That's got Pierre-Luc Dubois written all over it times an extra 2 sheets. Like, I just don't get that, man. I don't know if it's still a transition period. Maybe he just needs Jack Hughes in the lineup. Even when Hughes was in the lineup, he wasn't doing that much. He's just one of those players, man. It's like, it's not that he doesn't try, but when you watch him, you're just like, put that little bit extra effort in, or like just grind it out. Like, if you're not having a great game, go, like we talked about, I think last pod or 2 pods ago, I can't remember the topic, but we said, like, if you're not having a great name, like, get your name in the stat sheet somehow, right? Like, take a cross-checking penalty or slash somebody or punch somebody in the face, like Jackie Moon, somebody hit somebody, you know what I mean? Like, do something, right? Get yourself into the game. Because right now his scoring is just not there. His playmaking just doesn't seem to be there. I do expect it to come back. Like I said, he makes 10 million for a reason. He is a very, very good player, incredibly fast when he gets going. His first step's not necessarily quick, but he's like that freight train. Once the wheels are rolling, he is gone, right? But weird one. I'm definitely fuegoing the Devils. I do feel that they're going to have a really strong second half. I don't even think they're going to wild card it. I do think they'll be in the top 3 in the Metro. So I'm going to stand by that, and I will fuego the Devils. All right. Pittsburgh Penguins, freeze or fuego?
Freeze. I don't know. Sun's up there as well. They haven't been that great this year. Sid's individually having success, and same with Jake
Yeah.
Gensel. Eric Carlson, I pretty well predicted that. It's not working out that great, especially when you have Tanger in the lineup. So I don't think I think they missed playoffs. So freeze. I'm freezing them.
So a couple things. I mean, we talked about trade deadline. I kind of wouldn't. Okay. So sorry. Let me go back real quick. I also will say freeze. I do think, truthfully, that Dubas, as much as he does really like to be aggressive, I could totally see him going big and swinging for the fences and bringing in another top six forward. I could also see him trade and get Jake Gensel.
Yeah, I could see that.
Truthfully, I really do, to a contender. Truthfully, wouldn't he be a great fit with the Oil? Playing with
Yeah,
McDavid or playing with Draisaitl. Oh,
second guy would score
jeez, that'd
50.
be a perfect fit. There's obviously plenty of teams that he could go to that'd be a great fit on. But another thing too, though. So even just to kind of go, did you know that the Penguins, I believe I'm correct on this as of February 4th, are actually third in goals against this year? So their
Jesus.
defensive play hasn't been too bad. Mind you, I agree with you. Carlson's not necessarily a great fit. He's definitely more
Yeah,
of an offensive style defenseman, and he gets protected, by a lot of his other D-men help and a lot of the way that they play when he's on the ice. Um,
yeah.
but it hasn't been as bad defensively there. They just can't score goals, which has never been an issue for the Sidney Crosby Penguins. Never, ever, ever. Crosby,
Mm-hmm.
Malkin, tear it up. 3-4 goals a game, easy is almost due. Not seeing that this year. I think they are slowing down. I think they will be a couple sellers at the deadline, and they're not getting the goaltending at all from Tristan Jarry. So I am freezing the Pittsburgh Penguins as well. Last and not least, in the Eastern Conference, a fun one for you. Tampa Bay Lightning, freeze or Fuego?
Oh, Fuego. Fuego right now. I think they're finding their groove, but like you said with the Oilers, the same kind of thing. Hit an all-star break. The Lightning are 8 wins in their last 9 games. They're finding a groove. Their core or their depth pieces are starting to kind of come along. Mikey Eastman's really stepped into his role, finding to be a bit of a dog out there, grinding away. So I'm liking his play. Kucherov leading the league in points, having a potential MVP season. Points been really good. Points has been an underdog his whole career. And then Stammer, he's finding the back of the net. Hedman's having a big year this year. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know his point totals off the top of my head, but he's been playing a big role since Sergachev's been out. When Sergachev gets back, that's going to be a huge boost to that lineup. And Vasi's starting to find his groove again as well. He had a bit of a slow start. I mean, honestly, it's respectable. Guy's coming off back surgery for 10 weeks. Didn't expect him to be at his full form right away. So I got a good feeling for this second half for the Lightning. I think they're going to stay in that top 3 spot in the Atlantic.
Yeah, I completely agree. I am also fuegoing the Tampa Bay Lightning. Top goal scorer, top point scorer in the NHL right now. Kucherov playing disgusting lights out hockey.
Yep.
Biggest one, we've always talked about it, brought it up several different times on multiple podcasts. Can the Lightning just stay afloat without Vasi and that month after he gets back? Because we all know the 2 months he's out, you're not playing, but that first month, he didn't get any preseason games, didn't get much for training, didn't get much ice time in terms of playing. You knew he was going to take a little bit of time to get going. 7-1 in his last 8 starts with, I
Yeah.
think I saw just under a 3 goals against average, like a 2.9 or something GAA.
Yep.
And high 8s or very low 900 save percentage, something like that. So just getting back to his form, right? Yeah, it's just as long as they can tread water, right? It's like high
Yeah.
tide, low tide. You know what I mean? They're kind of toe
Mm-hmm.
tapping into shore. Vasky
Yep.
starts to get going, low tide starts to come in, and now they're just fucking running. I think they're going to
Yeah.
do really well in the second half. I really do believe as well that they're going to go big name hunting, or at least bring in a name or two. When
Yeah.
it
I got
comes
that
to,
feeling.
they'll probably bring in another defenseman like that sort of Luke Shenny style of D-man. Maybe they'll bring him back. I do think they're going to go after another winger as well. I am fuegoing the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think they got a solid second half ahead of them this year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump into the Western Conference here. Kind of do that a little bit quicker this one here around. Freezer Fuego, the Vancouver Canucks.
I got them freeze actually. As much as they are playing really well, I don't think they're going to keep up. I don't think they got a President's Trophy kind of vibe on them. So I think it's more I'm not saying like cool where they're just going to go on an absolute slump, but to the point where they're not going to keep up to the pace they've been in the first half. As much as they've got the solid players in front of them, adding Lindholm and whatnot, I think they're going to cool off a little bit, and you might see them drop in the standings a bit. Not much, but they'll stay. They'll probably sit in the top 3, but they'll probably finish 2 or 3. That's my guess. But yeah, cool. Freeze.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a gap right now. Obviously, I think they've got a 6 or 7 point cushion on the Knights. You know what? Truthfully, like I'm also going to freeze the Vancouver Canucks. Now, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not sitting there saying they're going to lose 10 in a row. I do think they're going to
Yeah.
play like a little over 500 hockey the
Yeah.
rest of the way because, like I said, the addition of Lindholm, Besser's firing, Miller's firing, Pedersen is a top, arguable 10, maybe top 5 offensive player in the league. They've got a lot of good pieces. I can't imagine they're going to fall off the face of the earth, but I just don't see them playing, 700 hockey or 750 hockey the rest of the way. I think they are due to decline a little bit and kind of fall
Yep.
back to earth a little bit. So I'm going to freeze.
Yep.
Next, freeze or Fuego, the Edmonton Oilers, 16 game
Fuego.
win streak.
Fuego. They're still. I think they found their groove. I honestly do. They're looking like the team they had last year, the year before. Not saying they're gonna go win the rest of their games, but
Yeah,
I
they're
think
never going to lose a game the rest of the season.
but I think they found their groove and they're going to be a dominant and dangerous team to play against the second half of this league.
Yeah, and again, obviously, like I said, I know I'm biased saying this, but it would be another thing for me to say that if they didn't have 2 of the top 3 players in the world on their team, and obviously they're on a 16 game win streak. They got a lot of key pieces going there. Do they need help? 100%. I
Yeah.
still would ideally like to have a better backup goalie than Pickard. No disrespect, because he's come in and played tremendous hockey. I would argue I would like to at least have another third goalie that's not Jack Campbell, just in case. As the Knights proved last year, what did they need? 5 goalies in the playoffs to win? Aiden
Yeah.
Hill was, I think, the 4th or maybe 5th goalie or something like that to play for them in playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Shit happens, you just never know. But just as a whole, man, like I said, you got the best player in the league, or call it top 2 or 3. And then you've got Draisaitl, who's easily a top 4 or 5, no matter what, as well. It's tough to not match skill, at least. And then, like I said, you brought up the Hyman effect. Every team would love to have Zach Hyman on their team. Um, but I just think they're starting to click, like you said, right? Like when you're clicking at the right time, their bottom 6 is scoring goals now. It's not just McDavid and Draisaitl carrying the whole weight. And obviously with Stuart Skinner, playing really, really solid hockey. Second star of the month, 11-0. Or sorry, I think he was 10-0, and I think Pickard played the one game, or something like that. Doesn't matter. He's on a
Yeah.
12-game win streak as a whole. So he even too has a chance to make NHL history, and I think it's 16 games in a row for goalies winning their own specific starts, as a record as well. So lots to play for. I think, like I said, they've got a really good chance to stay on. So Edmonton Oilers, I will Fuego. Final 2 here. So the St. Louis Blues, freeze or Fuego.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't follow the Blues too much, but I'm gonna say Fuego. They are 6-3-1 in their last 10. The merge of Robert Thomas being 52 points in 48 games or something like that. He's been taking the team on his rings and off he went. So um, yeah, I would say they're gonna heat up. They'll probably maybe find a wild card spot over probably now. I would take them over Nashville at this point in time. They got a solid team. Even Kyrou starting to figure out his groove after getting ripped apart by his own fans. And then they've also got Colton Parenko on the back end, who's a solid 2-way D man. So, yeah, Fuego for the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, so a couple really good points there. Like you said, Thomas has kind of upped his game. He's actually leading their team in points by
Yep.
13 points over the next best. Bushnevich has 39 points in second there, followed by Kyrou and then Shen with 27. So not necessarily they've always been a good structured defensive team. That goes back to their cup winning days in,
Yep.
what was it, 2017, I think they won it.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, like you said, they've been hot late, which is big. You want to start heating up at this time. You want to get going. They're in that first wild card or second wild card spot right now. I strongly believe they're going to hold on to that. Whether it's first or second wild card, I still think they're going to get into playoffs as well. They have a really solid, structured team. They play really hard. They play blues hockey, which is kind of beat up and make sure they're in your face and do everything right. But they're not going to blow you away with that talent and skill like maybe the older days of your Tarasenko and O'Reilly and a couple of those flashier players, and then Petrangelo on the back end, and just a lot of those really strong guys. But you never know with Bennington as well. But I really do like the Blues as a whole. Not necessarily the most entertaining hockey team to watch, but they play the game right and they do the little things right. Sticks in the lanes. They get the puck off high and off the glass if they need to, if they're in trouble. They're not afraid to just dump the puck in and go grime it up and play a little, dump and chase style hockey. Like, they make smart changes. They don't leave their goalie out to dry. They do a lot of the things that just winning hockey teams do. And they make those really good habits habitual, and like they just stay consistent. So those are small things that I like to look for when you look at a team that just buys in and plays for each other, right? Last but not least, Seattle Kraken, freeze or Fuego?
I got Freeze. I don't know. I don't have much belief in this team. As bad as that sounds terrible, but they don't have that guy that leads their team, and I thought maybe Beniers was going to be that guy. Maybe it's just the sophomore slump. He's struggling a little bit, but I'm not saying down the road he might be that guy. But right now, no one's really taking the horns for this team. They're near the bottom of the West. So I'm gonna say freeze. I don't see much movement, especially with the talent up front. I wouldn't. There's 8 teams ahead that I would take before them for playoffs.
Yeah, though the whole Beniers thing is interesting. 19 points this year in 45 games, simply not good enough.
Yeah,
He's still, we talked about it a little while ago. He's a minus 12 on the year too, so he's playing those top end minutes still, I believe. Let's see here. He's still averaging 17:52, so call it 18 minutes a night. Seeing power play time and everything as well, but you obviously see he's not taking that next step as a second overall pick that you would kind of hope in a franchise. A lot of their forward group is just getting older too, right? Eberle is a little older now. Schwartz is a bit older now. Yanni Gord's a little bit older now. Not saying they're dinosaurs, right? Thomas Tatar, but they don't necessarily have that young group anymore that they started in the league with a few years ago, that kind of really flashy and kind of got in your face and just played fast hockey. They got,
yeah,
some solid goal scorers. I mean, Jared McCann already has 20 goals again. Shocker. All that guy does is score
yeah,
goals.
yeah,
Like, he's consistent as can be. You've got a lot of smarts on that team. Like I said, a lot of those guys that I just named, they're really smart hockey players. They have high IQ. They know how to play the game right, but something's just not clicking for some unknown reason. They had
yeah,
a really poor defensive start. Their goaltending wasn't very strong. They weren't getting the extra saves. Maybe it was just strength of schedule. Maybe it was just chemistry. There was a lot of shakeup in that lineup this year. Um, Obviously, Yamamoto coming in, Tomas Tatar coming in, Eli Tolvanen was a guy that they added late last season as well. So, I mean, there's a few guys. Jared McCann they added last year too. So there's a lot of shakeup in that lineup that you just never know. But it's just a weird team. I'm gonna fuego them though. The reason
yeah,
why is I just feel like they're one of those teams that, again, you can almost copy and paste what I said about the Blues. They just play well with each other. Their chemistry seems to click. I've been watching a few of their games, and some games just get shitty bounces. They hit a lot of posts. They just don't a puck will bounce off a knee or a shin or a skate and go in their
yeah.
net, and just some of those bad luck bounces. I just don't think you can go through a full season of just having luck strictly not on your side. So for some
Okay,
reason, I think they're gonna. I don't necessarily know if they'll make playoffs, because a few teams, like we said, the Blues and the Kings are gonna probably be fighting for that kind of two wild card spots. But I do think the Kraken are going to step up again, and they've already had a 10-game win streak this year, or a nine game win streak this year. So they're
okay,
capable of going on a heater, and I think they could do that again. So yeah, I'm going to fuego the Kraken.
okay.
Any other teams you want to throw out there? Just ballpark it.
Um, I go Toronto. I'd go Fuego probably for Toronto. I think they're gonna have a good second half. Um, their core's starting to kind of figure it out. Matthews is on a tear. Like, he's looking at maybe 65 rips this year, which is
Mm-hmm.
incredible. Um, but it's interesting to see what they do at the deadline. If they can stay healthy, Hopefully they can go on a run. Hopefully they can at least give some Toronto fans a little bit of hope, maybe seeing more than just a second round. So, but yeah, no, they're clicking. Willie's been good. Matthews has been unreal. Morgan's been a sneaky good defenseman this year too. More the offense than defense, but yeah, interesting to see. And Samsonov had a couple good games before the All-Star break, so and then you get Wall back probably next week or the week after. So if they can stay on a heater, or even with their goaltending, then you just never know.
Yeah, this one's a weird one for me. Like, I'm gonna go Fwaggies because they're warm water to me. I think they're gonna be like 4 or 5 games above 500 for the rest of the way. I don't think they're gonna win a lot of games. I don't think they're gonna go on many losing streaks. I don't trust their goaltending at all. I don't even necessarily trust that Joseph Wall is going to come back and play as dominant as he did. Their defense looks shaky. I think their bottom six forward group is arguably one of their worst bottom six they've had in the last 4 or 5 years. They've lost a lot of key pieces in that bottom six. That was one thing that, man, I will admit, Dubas did a tremendous job over the course of his GM here in Toronto. Tremendous job at making sure his bottom six was one of the best in the league. He was very good at finding those key pieces for cheap. Your Sam Lafferty's of the world, who was that guy they got rid of to the Islanders a couple years ago? The Giraffe.
Pierre Engvall.
Pierre Engvall was just like a solid bottom six guy for them, right? Like a lot of really good bottom six pieces that they just haven't had this year. The Reeves signing unfortunately doesn't seem to be working out. Nick Robertson hasn't taken that step forward. There's a few guys that just haven't made that bottom six, that cushy, comfortable spot to allow Sheldon Keefe to sit here and say, well, I can give my third line an offensive zone start, or I don't have to start Tavares in my defensive zone 90% of the time, knowing that he's one of the only centermen that I can trust to win a draw. Right. Yeah. So there's a couple key pieces that I find with that. I also think that Keefe's on a hot seat, man. If they come out of the All-Star break here and they lose 6 of 10, maybe or so, that could be enough to get rid of him too. It's the same as the McClellans, the same as Woodcroft. I'm wouldn't be shocked if that little stint that they had just before the All-Star break, Keefe was like this close to being fired. He could have been one game away from being fired, and they ended up winning 1 or 2 extras. So I'm not saying they're going to freeze. I'm definitely not saying they're going to Feugo. I know the Leafs have, I think, the second toughest strength of schedule remaining in the second half. So they're playing a lot of really, really good teams, and they have a lot of shitty road trips, a lot of travel. That does not bode well for a team that arguably needs to have, consistency in their lineup. So I'm gonna freeze go on the Leafs. I think they're kind of lukewarm water right now to finish the season out.